This is Bill Newman, WHMP.
We welcome to the studio Rich Michelson. Joan Holliday, who is in for Monty Belmonte, was just commenting on the T-shirt that Rich Michelson is wearing. Rich Michelson, of course, is the owner of our Michelson's Gallery here in Northampton on Main Street. So, Joan, why don't you, Rich, stand up. I'm sorry we don't have a camera. Stand up. We want to see your T-shirt front and back. Okay, we're taking away.
Okay, it's a white T-shirt, and in the middle there is a vertical rectangle with a really nice, like almost a three-quarter profile of Spock, Leonard Nimoy, in his Star Trek uniform as Spock. And inside his face it looks like maybe Leonard Nimoy's little boy face.
That's what it is, yes. So
and it says fascinating.
I'm a walking billboard. What an advertisement.
You are. You can see Rich walking the streets of Northampton today. Why are you?
And that's a cool shirt.
It's a totally cool shirt. Why are you doing that, Rich?
So this is the front is the front cover, and the back of my T-shirt is the back cover of my new book, which was published yesterday. It was
Congratulations.
And we are having a big publication party at our Michelson Galleries this Friday from 6 to 8. In conjunction with a new exhibition of Leonard Nimoy's photography, 50 photographs previously unseen. The exhibition is called Unseen, a work that Leonard did over his lifetime. Many people don't realize that he started out as a photographer.
You mean he wasn't born Spock?
He was.
Yes, he was. Spock. He was born Spock. He was always Spock. Will always be Spock.
Well, this is what you need to read the book for. The book is about his childhood. It starts with him as an 8-year-old boy in temple during a prayer when the Kohan came to the bima, the stage.
You want to translate that for the?
So there's a Jewish prayer that is done, and you're supposed to look away when the priests come to the front of the temple and raise their hands in what is now known universally as the Vulcan hand gesture,
which I can't
and the
do,
greeting,
still can't do.
Live long and prosper. But it started out as an old Hebraic prayer that Leonard saw as an 8-year-old boy in temple.
Really?
I never knew that.
And when you're told to look away, because as he discovered much later, is when that prayer is invoked, the feminine aspect of God is entering the room, and if you look, you might be blinded by the beauty. And that seminal experience that Leonard had as a child informed both our culture today and his own career. The first exhibition we had at the gallery was his book of photographs called Shekinah, which were photographs of his visual representation of the feminine aspect of God. And in the second season of Star Trek, when we first visited the planet Vulcan for the first time, and Spock met the Vulcan Queen, the original text in the that was for him to shake hands with the Queen. This was in the the script. But Leonard thought that that Vulcans shouldn't just shake hands. He said, Asians bow, military men salute. That Vulcans should have their own special greeting. And the director said, okay, what do you want to do? But he hadn't planned for it. So he reached back in his memory to this very transforming prayer that he had seen as a child. And in a very seminal moment, he raised up both hands, split his fingers in a gesture that resembles the Hebrew letter Shin, which is the first word of shalom, or peace. And he said, live long and prosper.
It was just that moment?
It was that moment. This was not scripted. And he brought much of himself to the role. The Spock we know today had a lot to do with his upbringing. The book starts when he's 8 years old. It ends with that greeting when he became Spock. But mostly it's a story of a young Leonard Nimoy who grew up in the West End of Boston, feeling very much the outsider.
Outsider as a Jew in Boston?
Outsider as a Jew. His parents were both immigrants from Zaslev, Ukraine. His mother was actually sneaked out of Zaslev in a hay cart. His father walked for many days and sneaked across the border. They had a very typical Jewish immigrant experience, and we have the lading for the ship that came over when they landed at Ellis Island, where they were pegged as aliens. That's what was the term that was stamped on their entry into the United States, aliens. And Leonard, when he was offered the part of Spock, it was not a no-brainer at the time. He was a successful actor. He worried a little bit that that this role with a funny haircut and big ears might make him a laughing stock. But he reached back again into his childhood, and he told Gene Roddenberry, my parents came to this country as aliens, and they tried their whole life to be citizens. I was born as a citizen, and it's time for me to complete the circle, and I will be your alien.
Did Leonard Nimoy remain an observant Jew through his lifetime, or not?
Well, he was not. I mean, he grew up in a Yiddish-speaking home, 3 sets of dishes. It was very much informed by that.
In order to comply with the dietary laws.
That's right. And he did not necessarily attend synagogue regularly as an adult, but he was very invested in his heritage. His wife, Susan, a wonderful woman, her cousin was a rabbi, and they did go to his services fairly regularly. A little tidbit that most people don't know, he started out in Yiddish theater, and in fact, as an adult in California, he went weekly to a psychiatrist and paid for a session, not because he was talking about his childhood, but because the psychiatrist spoke Yiddish. And he wanted to spend an hour every week talking Yiddish with
It's kind
someone.
of a two-for sale. You get to speak Yiddish and you get a little insight. How can you beat that?
So it was very important to him in his life.
I would like to know this, Rich Michelson. You've had displays of and presentations of Leonard Nimoy's photographs before in your gallery. Mm-hmm. You were a friend of Leonard Nimoy. How did that friendship come about?
Well, I mean, Leonard and I were very dear friends. In fact, we spoke almost every day for the last 10 years of his life. We traveled together, and
this is a true bromance.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. You can't see me on radio, but most people think we look a little bit alike.
I was going to mention that. I think you look like brothers.
And probably the question I get more often than anything is, are you Leonard Nimoy's son? I say no, and nobody believes me anyways. It's good for sales of the photographs. People prefer to buy from his family. But I wrote a children's book many, many years ago called Too Young for Yiddish. And Leonard was asked by the National Yiddish Book Center, which is in Amherst, to record the book for a series they were doing for the Leonard Nimoy Recorded Book Library. And he did so. And we spent time talking about that. And it started a long relationship that really had less to do with Star Trek than a love of art and literature.
So you met him as an adult.
I met him as an adult. We met about 12, 13 years ago. And we got along very well from the get-go. I was a fan of his photography. We did a first show at the gallery. Soon he asked me to represent him exclusively. And we traveled the country together, doing exhibits, going to museums. We shared books. We talked about what our childhood. And, this book really came about through most of our wonderful dinner conversations where I would talk about my childhood. He would talk about his. We'd talk about our evolving relationships to Judaism, which came and went or was not there in my case, and came much later on. Our families got along well. Our wives became friends. And it was, for me, most people assumed he was my father, but it really developed into that sort of relationship.
He did become typecast. His fears of taking this role were realized. He would forever be Spock. Did that bother him?
He embraced it, certainly, but he did not let it stop him either. He toured in Broadway as Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof, as Arthur in King Arthur, as Sherlock. He wrote and directed a one-man show about Vincent van Gogh. He realized also it opened many doors to him, and he often said that if he could be one character in his life, he would have chosen Spock. And a lot of that is because he brought so much of his childhood to that role.
Rich Michelson, tell us what will be at the gallery this weekend and what the show will be and what the commemoration and celebrations will be as well.
Okay, so the exhibit that opens Friday is called Unseen, 50 previously unseen photographs by Leonard Nimoy, taken over his lifetime. I mention briefly in this book, again, his love of photography started when he was a 12-year-old boy. He built his own darkroom in the family bathroom, being as it was a tiny apartment shared by 3 generations of Nimoys and 6 people. The other 5 people weren't necessarily so thrilled to lose the use of the bathroom. But he took photographs throughout his lifetime. When Star Trek first went off the air, a lot of people don't realize, he seriously considered becoming a professional photographer. He went back to UCLA to study photography in school. And this was a number one passion for him throughout his life. And come to the gallery, you'll see the work he did. You can see it online at leonardnimoyphotography.com. And we're also going to be celebrating my book. Happy to come by. I'll sign copies from 6 to 8.
It's on Friday.
It's on this coming Friday, the 9th. Earlier in the day, I'll be in Great Barrington at the Jewish Federation of the Berkshires for their Nosh and Knowledge luncheon. And I'll be talking about Jewish literacy, seeking out new frontiers. Then I'll hurry on back to the gallery. It's a wonderful exhibition. It really is. He's an amazing photographer. I really encourage you to stop by and see it. The show will be up through October.
And once again, the title of the book?
Fascinating, The Life of Leonard Nimoy. It's illustrated by Edel Rodriguez. Incredible illustrations. Many people recently have gotten to know Edel through his cover of Time magazine of the Trump meltdown, that famous Trump face melting, which seemed to get all over the airways. Edel was the art director of Time magazine for many years. He's an incredible illustrator. I encourage you to look through the book.
The book written, of course, by Rich Michelson, owner of our Michelson Gallery. We'll see you at the opening. Can't wait. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, Rich. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.